top 2 teams, 6 opals, 4 Tokyo Olympians, 1 Olympic gold medalist and #1 WNBA draft pick. The best of the best. Welcome to Game 1 of the WNBL Grand Final. This is Melbourne and Perth.
And the Perth Lynx escape with the win. Insane comeback from the Blues.
The Boomers are into the grand final. The Perth
Melbourne, Victoria, the sporting capital of the world. It is the city which plays host to Game 1 of the WNBL Grand Final Series between the Melbourne Boomers and another team from a sporting mad city in the Perth Lynx. It's been almost 30 years since their last championship, while it's just a 10-year wait for the Boomers at home in the Boombox. The Boomers and the Lynx coming up, the two best teams all season right here on the WNBL right across Australia. Great to have you with us. Corbin Middlemass alongside Laurie Chiswick and Jenny Screen in the booth. And that is the WNBL Championship trophy, Jenny, which these teams are hoping to put their fingerprints all over.
They are indeed, and there will only be one team at the end of this series that will do that. We know there's been a drought for both teams. It's been 30 years since Perth have lifted this trophy, 1992, and then for the Melbourne Boomers, it was 2010, 2011, and the coach of both of those teams was Tom Maher. But I know as a player, the excitement, the nerves, and you would too as a coach and a player yourself in the WNBL, Laurie.
Oh, absolutely. And to just think it was 4 months ago, almost to the day that we started this season, and there's been twists and turns and ups and downs, and COVID affected everything, but we are finally here. We've got two great teams. Can't wait to get started.
We do have the best two teams in the game, but it was an unusual way of getting here and what happened in the semi-final series between the Perth Lynx and the Canberra Capitals. The first game was completed. The Lynx won that by 14 points. And because of a COVID outbreak, unfortunately, we weren't able to complete the remainder of the series. So as a result, the Lynx win Game 1 and they go through to play the Melbourne Boomers. Laurie, there is a familiar contrast in a grand final series that is represented here.
Absolutely, and you look at the two teams, and they're really, it's about defense for the Melbourne Boomers, best defensive team in the competition, versus the high-flying, well-potent Perth Lynx, and they lead the league in scoring. So it'll be a really interesting matchup with them. You know, Melbourne have to do certain things to stop that running game, and of course, Perth just want to play loose and just score more points.
And of course, Jenny, the last time they met was in February. Another close game. Of course, they've played twice this year and they're split one apiece. But the last time they met, there were a number of key opals missing, so we got to see a little bit of the two teams' depth.
We did indeed. Alex Sharp was great in that game. She hit a game-winning shot, 3 to send it to overtime, really. And then Alex Chiabatoni did a great job, 12 points in the absence of the lack of Sammy Whitcomb, who had opals duties. So we can't really take much from that round 10 game. It's been over a month since these two have played each other. I think Melbourne Boomers have gone to an extra level in terms of their depth, the way they're playing, and also their tenacity and grit. We saw that against Adelaide Lightning in the semi-finals. They were able to find that with that in Game 1, when that 64 to 17 point turnaround. I think it's going to be such a close contest, and I'm so excited to see how this one plays out.
One thing that we do know is that both teams are fully loaded in the starting five, so a galaxy of stars when we compare the two lineups that both the Boomers and the Lynx have, and some fascinating matchups really in every position.
Oh, there is, and the thing is that if you look at both of these, the stats for both teams, the starters figure in double digits, all 5 of them. So we're going to have 10 players on court in double digits, and their minutes, they all play close to 30-plus minutes a game. So they're experienced, they've played a lot of time together, and that's going to have a huge impact on the outcome of today.
Megan Huswaite is the 4th member of our crew. You heard from her off the top. She is courtside. Megan, what's it like inside the boombox for Game 1?
Good afternoon, everyone. The atmosphere is building here at the Boombox. Lots of Boomers fans. Haven't seen too much red in the crowd just yet. You mentioned Tom Maher, the common thread between these two teams. He's watching, he's here in the sidelines with two of his players that were part of that championship at Perth in 1992, and Robin Maher and Michelle Timms. And then they were part of the team too that won the title for Bulleen at this venue in 2010-11. Sharon Milner, the MVP from that grand final, is here. Katrina Hibbert, two-time Bulleen Boomers League MVP. Plenty of royalty in the house. They are ready for a huge game one.
Thanks, Megan. So the Melbourne Boomers ready to go there in the purple uniforms with the yellow accent. And there's the Perth Lynx just being introduced as well, predominantly in red as expected. The starting lineups for the two teams will start with the Melbourne Boomers and some high-profile stars here amongst the Boomers outfitters we just focused on moments ago. But this is what the lineup looks like. Laurie Chizzy.
Oh, there's some key, you know, we talked earlier, Jenny, the key matchups, and I'm really interested to see Lindsay Allen. To me, she is so important for this Boomers lineup. How she comes off the on-ball screen, what's her mentality out there, and then also the bigs in Magdeburg. She needs to stamp her authority on this game straight away, nice and early, and have an impact.
I agree totally. I think it's going to be an exciting time, these matchups. Not only are you looking at the guards, you're also looking at the big Scherf versus McBagor, Garvin versus George, Opals going against Opals or potential Opals fighting for spots in the World Champs. Jackie Young, we know how superb she has been on the back end of this season. Marina Mabry's just finding her feet as well, and we know Sammy Whitcomb, the New York Liberty WNBA player and also an Opal herself, has had a star-studded March, averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds and almost 5 assists as well. And then they've got some pack off the bench with Chia Batoni and Sharp. Quick tips. Who do we like?
Well, I'm going to go Melbourne for this first game, given they've got the home crowd, and it's looks like it's going to be active and loud at the Boombox.
I agree. Whoever wins the first one just holds them in good stead for that away game. So Boomers for me as well, Corbin.
Let the ride begin for the WNBL Championship, and Perth win the opening tip. And down it comes into the hands of Jackie Young, the number 0 for the Perth Lynx, with the opening possession. The #1 offensive team in the game, out to Sammy Whitcomb. And in the passing lane is Tiff Mitchell, who gets an early steal and as a result lays it in transition. And there are the first points of the grand final series for the Melbourne Boomers.
And I think that's the first demonstration of the type of defense that we're going to see from the Melbourne Boomers, up and in and aggressive.
Young back on the handle for Perth. Out to Garvin, catch and shoot for 3. And the long rebound and scooped up by Scherf. What a year she's had, first year with the Lynx. Off the dribble, Mabry. Whoa. Splash from long range.
Splash indeed, and that's a very hot start for Mabry. We know how caliber she is in terms of shooting, and that's a great way to start the first quarter of this grand final game 1.
The Boomers swing it around the arc. Allen to McBagor, goes to work. Kicks it back out of the lane to Madgen in her first grand final series. A little runner for 2, and she's on the board.
It's good to see Tess involved early. She's really crucial to this Melbourne Boomer lineup.
Here's Mabry off the dribble. Back to Scherf. Hand off to Young up top. Back to Mabry. Shanks Madgen for 3.
Oh,
she has back-to-back trips to start.
I don't know. Is this going to be the start of something to come for tonight, Laurie? The way that she's hit back-to-back threes pretty much from the same spot. I mean, if you're the Melbourne Boomers, maybe she's hot early and will start to die off, but we've got to get her off that 3-point line.
Here's George for 3 at the other end. No good. Young scraps for the rebound, and Mitchell last touch over the baseline. Perth ball. Familiar theme with Marina Mabry and Jackie Young and Lindsay Allen, all alma mater from Notre Dame, and had plenty of success there with a championship in the NCAA.
Those first couple of shots of Mabry reminded me of the very first game she played, where we were all wowed with her ability and what she could do.
Dallas Wings rep in the WNBA is Mabry for 3 threes.
Oh!
She cannot miss.
Woo. Trifecta indeed. She'd be feeling it right now, and if I was Perth, I'd be going straight back to the well on the next play.
Definitely.
That's a problem for the Boomers early. Mabry feeling it from long range as Mag McGaw. Turnaround Jay's good for 2. 3-point spread. Here's Mabry off the dribble, takes it to the glass. Shot goes up, no good, and a rebound for George. Allen in transition, pulls up, left it short. Mabry the rebound. They got away with the call there, Jenny.
Maybe a little bit, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Scherf to Whitcomb. Draws the defender. Down low to Scherf. Weak side corner. Garvin to Mabry for 3 more. Not this time.
That was great defensive rotation by the Boomers. There was lots of talk. They've obviously practiced that, and they looked good with that defensive possession.
Allen works away inside the paint. Draws the foul on Mabry. She'll go to the line to shoot 2. First foul shots of the grand final series. Game 1 in the best of 3 on Melbourne's home floor.
As we just see here, the highlight reel that is Mabry at the start of this game. She's hit 3 threes, and then another one I think is going to be a start tonight. You alluded to that, Laurie, at the start of the game is LA, you know, known as Lindsay Allen, but the matchup between her and Young, I'm so excited by. The mid-range game that they have, their ability to come off the pick and roll has been phenomenal all season.
Well, I've loved the way Lindsay Allen, especially the last 2 games against Adelaide in the semi-finals, the way her decision-making off those pick and rolls. And if Lauren Scherf's going to drop back in the key, that pull-up jump shot is wide open for her.
Best field goal shooting team in the league, the Perth Lynx. Best offensive team with 83 points a game. They've got 3 buckets through Mabry so far. Young, a little long on a turnaround jump shot. The Boomers back the other way, trying to turn the momentum here in the opening quarter. Thrown it away. Scherf comes up with it. Now Mabry for some more points. Left-handed layup through traffic, no good.
She just needs to stay out at the 3-point line, don't you think, Jenny?
Yeah, I agree. Like, if I'm the Melbourne Boomers right now, you want to run her off the 3-point line, and you're happy with her taking those, you know, deep penetration layups if they're not going down right now. The last thing you want to do is for her to keep Perth in this game by living and dying by the 3-point line. And there we go. We spoke about it. That mid-range pull-up. You mentioned it, Laurie, in terms of Scherf just dropping too low into the keyway, and Lindsay's just too athletic, too strong, and has that ability to knock down that mid-range game.
Step back for Whitcomb, no good. I'll get a second look at it here. Sammy down to Garvin, great work, and Garvin off the glass.
She even had me on that one, Laurie. I thought she was going left to the corner for the pass, and then she tricked me even sitting here watching this one.
Mitchell in attack mode, no good.
It would be so much fun to play with Sammy Whitcomb.
Tremendous passer, great vision, and boy, she can score herself. Down to Scherf, sets up Scherf for the bucket. So a couple of great dimes for Sammy Whitcomb.
And Lauren Scherf has had some great games against the Melbourne Boomers. Last one, round 10 to 18 points, 19 rebounds. You know that Sandy Brondello will be watching this game very closely as these big girls go at it.
Nagin off the pick, pulls up inside, rattles out, scraps after her own board. She's got her back on the baseline, a turnover. So 4 lead changes already to start the game. 3 threes for Marina Mabry. Highly entertaining start, the first quarter of the best of 3 grand final series. Game 2 Wednesday night in Perth, and then game 3 back here in Melbourne at the Boombox next Saturday if required. Whitcomb, catch and shoot, 3 more.
Such a quick release on Sammy Whitcomb. She did that little flare screen and just was ready to put that ball up.
Here's McGaw down low off the glass. Can't get it to go. Parked down on the perimeter, McGaw given the cushion to George to Magin. Gets the clean look, just rattles out again. And Scherf on the rebound. So game high 6-point spread.
Wow.
Advance to Young, and Young through contact finishes. It's now 8 the margin.
That is the way Perth want to play the game. A quick outlet, kick ahead up the floor and attack.
Allen to answer back, and that's her go. Again on the mid-range.
She's leading the way for her team is LA. 6 points already to lead Melbourne Boomers. Obviously, we know Mabry, she's got 9 as well.
Interesting to see Carly Ernst waiting to come on the floor for her first minutes. Could be the real wild card in the series. Coming off the bench. And some foul shots for Mabry. And there's Guy Malloy, who's really been one of the major threats for the Boomers all season. This is his final year in charge. Been a great servant. He's had success with the Boomers without having the ultimate success. And he's got them all the way to the dance here in his last season before departing.
I spoke to him yesterday, and he said he's just gone through a range of emotions this past week where he'd be, you know, excited, nervous, then a little bit sad. So he just needs to hold it all in during the game, which I'm sure he will.
Haven't missed a foul shot so far. Mabry 2 of 2. And I'll sub the shooter as well. And what a start she's had. 11 first quarter points for Marina Mabry. Back to an 8-point game. Ernst on the floor. Is he right? Former Perth player herself, now in the second year with the Boomers. Allen out to Magin for 3. Left it short. And the Lynx come up with it through Eisenbarger. This is Young, attacks the rim. Shook the defender, misses, grabs her own board. The putback's good.
That is just what you call tough. You know, she went up. She's the smallest on the court there in terms of she went up against 3 Melbourne Boomers players for that offensive rebound. Was able to collect it and put back. Tough in my mind.
Ernst, clean look for 3. A little long. And Eisenbarger scoops up the long rebound.
Melbourne are 0-4 from the 3-point line right now.
Young with a nice J, knocks it down, and all of a sudden the lead has ballooned out to 12. So the Lynx with 2.5 to go in the first, and here's Jackie Young.
Just have a look, 3 purple colours around her, and she's able to go up strong against 6'5" and 6'4" and be able to get her own rebound. And then we see what she's been doing all season, predominantly more in the latter part is her mid-range game. She's just a phenomenal athlete and a pleasure to watch.
Maddie Crowley-Long, Hayley Cole and Taylor Flint, the 3 refs in charge. First time, according to the WNBL, that we have ever had 3 female referees in charge for a grand final series. So a hat tip to those 3 women. And here is Guy Malloy, the coach of the Melbourne Boomers. His team down 12 early.
We're living with that mid-range jumper. Next possession down, I want stack elbow for Jack. Again, play out of it. Go throw and go concept. Throw it, go straight away, straight to the on-ball. They might show it. I'm not sure of that middle pick and roll at the nail. Let's go.
We're actually listening to Ryan Petrick and what he's saying. I was interested thinking, what is Guy talking about? But actually that was the voice of the Perth Lynx coach, Ryan Petrick.
But I reckon if I was Guy Malloy, I'd be talking about shot selection. What shots are we getting? They've had some great looks. They're just not falling. But then they're not getting into their defensive transition quick enough, which means Lynx, we know they love to get out and run. And most of their points have been scored in the first 7 and 8 seconds of their offensive structure. So they've got to get into positions a lot earlier. And right here, you can see the 1-2-2 press where we know it wreaked a little bit of havoc in round 10 for the Melbourne Boomers when they last met.
They used about 7.9 seconds, I think, to get that over the half court, the Boomers. Here's Allen to George. Extra pass to Ernst. Shakes Chibatoni. Takes it all the way to the rim.
She thought about shooting that 3 and then decided to put it to the floor, and with success.
4 early lead changes, and Perth by a game high 12 moments ago at the timeout. Young starting to get involved with 3 mates, draws the contact and the foul from George.
She is very smart, Jackie Young. That was a very experienced foul to get to, knowing that Kayla was going to try and be containing her and didn't quite have the correct distance and went up and resulted. Now she's at the foul line.
If you think this is a margin too much to overcome, you don't need to go too far back into the history books for the Melbourne Boomers. Thursday night in the semi-final, they were 15 down at half-time, outscored Adelaide 63-17 in the second half.
to take game one.
But what I love about that, Corbin, is not so much the scoreline, but normally we know the Melbourne Boomers of the past, they'd capitulate and they'd probably just go into continuing to lose. But what I liked was their grit and resilience to just find a way, which we haven't seen in years past, and probably reasons why they haven't got that maiden championship for a long time is that they just give up too soon. So hopefully we'll see that as the game progresses as well.
The inside to Jenny's screen as Allen pulls up, left it short. Well, Mitchell fights on, feeds it to right and right off the glass for the bucket. And Ryan Petrick walks down the bench to have a chat and calls on Maybury again. Garvin from long range, no good. Ernst on the rebound.
One thing Melbourne have to make sure they're doing in that defensive transition is not only be back, but they've got to be ready and they've got to be talking to each other to know who the matchups are.
10-point spread. Allen on the elbow. Out to Tiff Mitchell. Drives. The kick out to McMagor, a little short. And in the scramble, Perth back with it through Sharp. 8 first quarter points for Jackie Young to make it double digits. Takes it to the rim. Can't finish. And then the foul call. And Sharp will head to the free throw line.
Interestingly, this is where Jackie Young actually shines when two of her very potent teammates in Whitcomb and Maybury are on the bench, and so it sort of leaves things wide open for Young to you know, do what she wants to do, and created this for Sharp.
First at the line is good for Alex Sharp.
The thing that's hurting the Melbourne Boomers right now is the possession game. 4 offensive rebounds to the Perth Lynx, and predominantly a lot of those have come from their guards and Sharp and also Young, and we can almost see there they got their hands to another one. So they're the little things that Melbourne Boomers have to clean up.
Tiff Mitchell trying to get something going for Melbourne. Just the one make so far. Allen has been good from the mid-range. Can't complete it here. Ernst swings it back out. Boomers reload. 8 left on the red numbers. Allen off the dribble, shakes the defender. A little long on her mid-range. And Sharp on the rebound. Here's Maybury. Oh, get that out of here. Ezzy McMagor just swats it away.
Have a look at this. They run her off the three-point line, which is good. You don't want her shooting another three. And then she's met with the maker. Protecting the home is Ezzy McMagor, Australian opal. Oh. Look at the athleticism on that. If only I ever had that in my lifetime.
I think we're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
No thanks from Ezzy McMagor. Mitchell, how we started the game. In the passing lane, lays it up in transition. Her second make. They both come in the same fashion. They cut the Perth lead to 9. And Ryan Petrick says, I want to have a chat. 27-18, closing in on quarter time.
And perhaps, Laurie, that's the momentum swing they need, that block, that little bit of energy. You can hear the crowd and what they're getting back. And then Tiffany Mitchell, she hasn't scored yet. Well, she scored 4 points in this game, but she's got a lot of touches to balls. She's been around the mark, and she just seems like she's that X factor and energy for the Boomers right now.
Hopefully we'll be listening to Guy Malloy and his words of wisdom in this timeout this time.
Hey, I don't want to come into every timeout, every break and saying we got to board more because we got to go, right? We have to raise our standard for that. Now, 2 things. They're trying to ice a lot, particularly on thumb, right? So if we're here, 2 or a 3, and they're trying to ice on this one here, so we're coming down to pick, there is no ice, right? It's a mindset here. Put the gas on, take Whitcomb down, hit the brakes, throw it to the post, and sprint back, and then you'll get what you want. You understand? Gas, brake, throw and go. Now, if we're on fist, we're on thumb, we're not rolling behind drops, so we throw it up, we sprint to screen, we hit them, and then we get behind their heads and we roll. On fist, we do the same thing, because I want everything we're giving is a pull-up jump shot. They're not going right now, they will, but I don't want that to be the only option. I want the kick out to shooters and penetrate again, or I want the high pass because we're rolling behind. All right, here we go. Come on.
Really nice, concise timeout there of what he wants in the offensive structure for the Melbourne Boomers, and you also heard him allude to the rebound count. It's important. You know, they've got two of the most potent inside players in Magbagor and George that need to own the paint, and that is a key for me for the game, Laurie, and maybe it'd be for yours. But whoever dominates the paint for me, I think is going to be a huge, you know, probably a potential winner of this game.
Oh, couldn't agree more. You need to be one and done, clean up the boards.
Magbagor, spin move on Scherf, reverse layup, no good. Rebound for Tiff Mitchell, 9-point game. Perth lead it, George clean look. Left it short, and it ends up over the baseline, so.
That's George's first shot of the game. She hasn't, you know, put anything up. She needs to get herself involved.
Three-possession game, 27-18. It's the Lynx who lead it after 4 early lead changes. They throw it away. Here's Madgen. Out to George. To Allen. Dribbling baseline. Lost the handle. Eisenbarger comes up with the steal. Scherf with the handoff to Whitcomb, back to Scherf. They link up again for the easy make. Puts it back to double digits.
I like how Scherf is getting involved. I mean, it was a great pass from Whitcomb, but they need to make sure they've got an inside presence as well as their perimeter shooters.
Mabry had 11 in the opening quarter, 8 for Jackie Young. Leading the game, while Lindsay Allen had 6 for the Boomers and 4 for Tiffany Mitchell. Both teams had 6 different scorers in that opening quarter. Went out a minute and a half into the second. And it's an 11-point lead for Perth on the back of that make for Lauren Scherf. Mabry with 3 of these already. She now has 4 makes from long range.
Laurie, it's just too easy right now. You spoke about it before the start of the game, about the Boomers and their defense, and that's what they've been known for all season, but we're not seeing it right now. There's too many breakdowns. The scouts not being followed. They're having some great looks offensively, but they're not falling. But if they're not playing great D, then it's going to be really hard to get some points on the scoreboard. Unfortunately,
the Boomers over the last 2 seasons, they do have dry spells, it must be said, from three-point land. They're 0 of 6. Perth are 5 from 9, who have a reputation to shoot their shot. Mitchell for 3, misses everything. It's 14 points the spread. Perth 5 of 9 from the perimeter. Whitcomb for her second make.
Oh, wow.
That goes in too. They cannot miss from downtown.
So they cannot miss is right, but that means you've got to put more pressure on them. You've got to close out long and make them put it to the floor. Get them off that three-point line.
What a start for the Lynx. Mitchell draws the foul. She'll be heading to the free throw line. Hopefully some points come a little easier there for the Boomers' cause.
Well, when you look at Perth right now, shooting 6 from 10, Jenny, from the three-point line, 60%. And we're only in the, you know, second quarter. That's got to be a real game changer. Melbourne have to come up with a way of getting a hand, finding that, just making sure that doesn't continue.
And just the want and the desire that I'm going to lock you up right now. I heard Scott Roth in the NBL, he said, guard your yard. And I really love that term of, like, it's just one-on-one, own your player. There's been too much penetration for the Perth Lynx, and also too much three-point shooting, obviously. I mean, that last one from Sammy Whitcomb was a pretty tough step back. We know she can do that, but there's just the little things they need to clean up on.
Mitchell 1 of 2 on that trip. 16 points. Scherf off glass, out to 18, a new game high.
Doesn't Lauren Scherf look focused? Her finishes are very strong.
Been well declared as a junior coming through, and a couple of different stints with various WNBL teams, but what a breakout year she's had. And she's had in Opal's contention, certainly in the conversation. There's again another misfire from long range. The Boomers are 0 of 8 from deep. Scherf, what a pass into the corner. Garvin doesn't let her down. It is a 21-point game, 3.5 into the second term. And the Perth Lynx are kicking the doors in on the boombox.
I feel like Melbourne Boomers left their A game at home right now, and no one packed it in their backpacks on the way to the game. But the Perth Lynx look like they've enjoyed coming back to the East Coast, Laurie, with the way they're stroking it right now, better than what they did back at home.
Well, you'd think they were in Ballarat right now, the way they're hitting those threes, and we've always known they're capable of doing it. I think the second half of the season they've been a little bit sporadic in that, but today they have brought their A game, absolutely.
They are 7 of 11 from three-point land. Here's Ryan Petrick, a happy coach of the Lynx, I'm sure.
Offensively, if they're going to be up and afters, especially in the stagger series, get that second pin down a little bit lower, so that straight cut's a little bit easy to hit the elbow. I want to get into the away screen action.
Away?
Yeah, because again, because they're hugging both of you, that slip will be on. We good? Strong 2 away.
The challenge now is for how do Melbourne Boomers respond? We saw what they did in the semi-final against Adelaide Lightning. Now, after this timeout, we've got 6 minutes or just under 7 to go in this second quarter. What are they going to do right now in this last 6 minutes to crawl back this deficit that they're facing right now, which is pretty substantial?
They haven't played in 9 days, the Perth Lynx. They only played the one game, obviously, in their semi-final series. They had what turned out to be a joy flight and back to Canberra. There was no basketball contested there. And as a result, they are fresh. They're ready to go here. They lead by 21, a game high, with 7 made threes already. Less than a quarter and a half of basketball. And they're mixing it up, the Boomers. We get a look here at Lily Scanlon for the first time. Loses the handle. Jackie Young downhill. Out to Garvin for back-to-back threes. That's good too.
Well, that's the thing with the defensive transition, because every single person on the Perth Lynx right now can shoot the three, so you can't get right back into the key. You've got to match up with them as they reach the three-point line. And Darcy Garvin just spotted up wide open. You can see Kayla right back in the key, but you need to know where the players are. Pick them up at the three-point line.
McBagor catches the inbounds. Right to George, back to Ezzy, down low, over the hand to Scherf. Can't connect. Here's Mabry, had the hot hand early. Whitcomb for a tough contested three. Not quite. I think we're open for a lot of possibilities, and I don't think anyone had Perth by 24 halfway through the second term. What a turn up to start the grand final series. McBagor for 2 back the other way. First made field goal in the second quarter for the Boomers. Comes 4.5 in. Oh, Young, the tough mate. The immediate reply and one to come.
That's the exact same move she made on Kayla, drew the foul. What a finish by Jackie Young.
And that's the staggers action you heard Ryan Petrick talking about in the timeout, the double down screen, and then she just read her player, was just behind her as she put her chin on her shoulder, and she was able to curl and get that nice little jumper. But right now, Melbourne Boomers, it's all about the defense for me.
Full court trap on, and Boomers work their way through it. 25 the margin. New high water mark. George to Scanlon. Creates her own shot, doesn't take it. Right to George for 3. They've got one.
And only her second shot, Laurie, you alluded to earlier, that she'd only taken her first shot in the second quarter. And I'm waiting for someone to step up. Is it going to be Kayla George? Is it going to be Ezzy McBagor? Is it going to be Tess Madgen? Who's going to step up from the Boomers that's got the more experience, a bit more veteran type about them, and put this team on their back and try and claw back this pretty tough margin?
Well, Perth right now are shooting the ball at 56%, 62 from the three-point line. So you sort of go, well, we can try and weather this storm if we've got some good defense.
Back-to-back baskets. Madgen makes it Megan Huswaite is courtside. Megan.
Well, the crowd might be a bit stunned by this scoreline at the moment, but they're still getting very much behind their Boomers, and they like what they're seeing right now as Lily Scanlon gets the steal. But there's some red jumpers sprinkled throughout the crowd, and they are of the number 3 of Marina Maybury. And I reckon a few number 0s as well as Jackie Young. They've certainly got some fans in the house.
They now have 29 between them. Young overtakes Maybury as the leading scorer in the game. Doesn't quite go. 1 of 11 from three-point land, the Boomers. Perth lights out at the other end as Maybury draws the foul. They're 8 of 13, the Lynx.
Again, there's that curl action off the staggers that we're looking at. We saw Jackie Young do it before on the previous play. And then Maybury again, those little things, those little details. Are you going to step out and switch off that from the second screener and put a big on that to maybe get a deflection or a block? Or is it a three-way switch? Are we going to ride and drive and try and push them up off that curling action? Right now, it's just Melbourne Boomers look lackluster. I feel like that they're not playing like a grand final we saw last week in the semi-final that got them to this spot. Just a little bit deer in headlights, Laurie.
Could not agree more. And conversely, Perth, to me, I am so impressed with the way, you know, we always know that they can run the floor and push the ball up and get transition baskets. But I'm impressed the way their player movement and ball movement at the offensive end and the looks that they're getting out of that have eventuated this game.
This is the best offense versus the best defense in the competition, and the best defensive team have had over 50 put up on them in less than a half of basketball. Quite extraordinary as McGregor drives, can't finish over Eisenbarger, and the rebound for Garvin.
Well, if you think of this stat, in the last 5 games, Melbourne have only allowed teams to score 56 points, and Perth have already scored 54 now. So put that stat right out the window.
At 28, as wide as it's been the margin. Hand off to Allen. McGregor from the elbow. Allen. The rebound and the walk. A turnover.
You can see the level of intent. I didn't mind that play. There was some good ball movement, player movement action, some dribble handoff. They just, like the game's going, they're shooting it, not a bad clip. 10 of 23, you know, 43%, but they're not able to capitalize on those good looks that they're getting.
It's almost an error for Perth. They've been lights out so far. They are going to keep possession here.
Well, the other thing that's impressive on the stat line is Perth now have 12 assists compared to Melbourne's 3 assists.
The ball finds energy again here on the three-point line. Whitcomb to the weak side corner for Sharp. Now to Young from the car park. A little short. And McGregor, the defensive board. 28 the spread. Tough Euro step through a number of bodies for Mitchell. And a no call. Garvin just pulls up herself. No good. Final 90 seconds of the half. Mitchell attack mode in the bucket. Back to 26. Before there's any chance to build some kind of momentum on the back of that, Ryan Petrick says timeout. Margin remains 26 with 90 seconds to go in the half.
Nice little crossover there from Mitchell, finding a way into the paint for a really nice finish, as well as we see a much needed timeout coming Melbourne Boomers' way with just under 2 minutes to go. Can they get a little bit of momentum swing their way?
Coach of the Boomers, Guy Malloy.
Ball pressure, we're a much better defensive team. If there is no body on, no matter what we do, it's not gonna work for us. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. Now, next possession. Come back in shakes. All right. We're gonna go shake side though. So set the pick, come off, roll Ez, throw it to Carly. Carly dribble it right back and get it, and then Ez come back up and get fist. And then a deep roll. We'll find Ez in a roll. We're in purple.
Calm, at least on the exterior, Guy Malloy.
Yes, he'd be looking at his notes and going, where do we turn to now? And you know, that's what coaches need to do. They need to make changes on the run, changes on the fly, coaches and players.
Scherf, right for the hands of Ernst, finishes. More points. And Scherf up to 8. Margin back to 28. Magbagor. The end of the dime from Allen. Off glass for 2.
Is that a little bit, Jenny, of what you can do, we can do as well at either end of the court, into the bigs?
Exactly. I mean, the Melbourne Boomers have hit 30 points. That's not a bad thing for, you know, heading towards the halftime break. It's the defensive end, 58 points. We're heading for a 120-point ball game from Perth right now. If this continues and they don't pick up the defense tenacity that we've known, or we know what they're like and capable of.
15-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock, and that's going to be halted here. Foul called, a block on Sammy Whitcomb. Here's the Garvin bucket. She's up to 12. 16 for Mabry, 15 for Young. We've got 5 players with 6 or more in the game. The Boomers' leading scorer is Tiffany Mitchell with 7. Allen can't finish. Obord Magbagor on the putback.
It was a strong rebound by Ezzy. You know, she kept it high, didn't bring it down, and was able to finish strongly.
Final shot of the half. And isn't that fitting? A bucket for Perth right on the buzzer. And they are a fire that cannot be put out here. 60-32 in a half of basketball. They lead the Boomers by 28 in game 1 of the grand final series.
They have been electric. You cannot take anything away from the Perth Lynx. They have dominated from the outset, you know, from that first 3 that Mabry hit and then went again for 3 triples in a row. They've been absolutely sublime, and not just her. You know, Garvin's got 12, Young's got 17 as well, and then Scherf's following up with a quiet 8, but that's pretty good for her, and when we know she's averaging almost 16 points a game. So Perth have been great. Boomers, Laurie, they've got a long way to go.
They certainly do, and they'll be talking about it at halftime. I know that they're really confident in their process, so they'll go through that at halftime and see what happens in this second half.
Here are the match stats to halftime. Jenny Screen and Laurie Chiswick, and the 3-point numbers in particular.
Yikes.
Are dramatic. 8 of 14 makes for Perth. The Boomers just 1 of 11. They missed their first 9 shots from long range.
Well, and the biggest thing for me is the rebound count as well. 16-24 is pretty massive, and a lot of them would be on the offensive end. We know they had 4 in the first quarter in terms of rebounds from the offensive side. And then another one, I mean, we're looking at 46 and 64, but it's actually 35% to 61% when we took into tally of the 2s and the 3s. So that's something they need to clean up as well, but just get a little bit more physical, Laurie.
4 lead changes in the opening quarter, but from that point on, it has been all Perth. They lead by a game-high 28 at the half. The game 1 of the grand final series from the Boombox. Let's see what...
Icon Services is a market leader, offering 4 integrated property and service divisions in cleaning, hygiene and washroom, waste and recycling, and property services. Find out why Australia's largest spaces and most iconic places only trust the Icon brand. Icon, solutions that matter.
With doubt and dismay you are smitten. You think there's no chance for you, none. Why the best books haven't been written. The best race hasn't been run. The best tune hasn't been played yet. Cheer up, for the world is young. But the best jobs haven't been started. The best work hasn't been done.
Yeah. How are you? Good?
Yeah, what's up?
I'm just giving you some fantastic news and well deserved, but I have been informed that you are the WNBL 21-22 MVP, so congratulations.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yep,
I'm all
I'm 100%
sweaty.
serious.
Oh my god.
So,
What the hell, Ben? How long have you known this?
not long.
Oh, I'm shaky.
So congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
And well deserved.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate you.
What amazing vision that is with Annalee Mabry, the league MVP this year, finding out that she had won the Susie Bakovic Award as the premier player in the competition. Fair to say, Laurie Chiswick, first year at Bendigo, and she is just a walking double-double.
She was so much fun to watch and to play, you know, to see what she did out there. And she was a leading rebounder last year, but to end the season as a leading scorer. And the other thing I found fascinating, all but one game, she had double-doubles in every game. It's phenomenal, the rise of Annalee Mabry.
Yeah, I think she's done a great job moving to Bendigo. She's obviously flourished under Tracy York and given a long leash to do what she does. But look at those numbers. I mean, it's just phenomenal. She almost is a mop at times, the way she just cleans up everything, whether it's on the glass, inside the paint. She dives on everything. She's actually a great passer as well and able to find her teammates time after time, and she was the main reason that they had that run at the second half of the season, and congratulations to her. I'm sure that we'll see many years to come of her dominating in the WNBL.
She's just a fun watch. Like the way she goes about it, she plays the game the way it should be played. She scraps after everything. She's so selfless, great teammate. It sort of makes you feel like sort of what's not to love about the way that Annalee Mabry goes about it.
And it's so much energy. You know, she just plays with enthusiasm. It looks like she loves it. She's such a anticipates where that ball, where that rebound. You know, sometimes she comes up with it and you just shake your head and go, how did she get that?
And you know the fantastic thing as well is she's 6'1", and she plays as a forward.
Yeah.
And for any young girl out there, you know, you remind yourself that you don't have to be big and tall to be able to dominate the game. And well, again, to her 6'1" and be able to do what she does, both scoring and rebounding wise, she deserves that MVP.
Yeah, there's a place in any team for a player like her to play any position across the floor. She wins the voting by 1 over Steph Talbot. The Defensive Player of the Year, this probably really shouldn't come as too much of a surprise to people out of the Canberra Capitals in Brittany Sykes. She's the premier defensive player in the WNBA, and she comes down here to Australia to play her first year, and again, she dominates in that category, which, as I said, really shouldn't be a surprise.
Again, she was fun to watch too, the way she went about her business. And you know, defense isn't always as glamorous as offense, and yet she She was great to watch in her tenacity, the way she anticipated, her active hands to get steals, and she won the Golden Hands Award. So she was very deserving of Defensive Player.
For me, she's go-go gadget arms. You know, you don't think she's long, and then she puts up her arms, and you're like, where did she get that steal from? She has a wingspan, I think, of 6'7". Correct me if I'm wrong, Kennedy Kerryama. I know you'll be watching, but she is a pleasure to watch. She's been a pleasure to have in our league. Her athleticism, you don't see that very often, Laurie, at all.
A little shout out to Kalani Purcell, who it feels like if it wasn't going to be Sykes, Purcell had to be in the conversation. She had an outstanding year with the Sydney Uni Flames, so a little hat tip to her on the way through. Best sixth woman went the way of Christy Wallace, playing for the Southside Flyers. We sort of got the first inkling as to where her level was going to be when she was picked for that Asia Cup team. She backed it up with selection when all the stars were back for the Opals mid-year. So well done, Christy Wallace, sixth woman of the year.
And it's often, you know, to come off the bench, and she could have been a starter, to be honest, with the Southside or with other teams. So, you know, I always say that you almost have 6 starters, and she was very deserving of that. She, again, brought athleticism, energy, just that never say die attitude to the Southside Flyers, and she's gone ahead in leaps and bounds.
And she has, and then she's been rewarded, obviously, going to Atlanta in the WNBA, and we wish her all the best in terms of pursuing that goal and dream, because we know how arduous her journey has been in the last couple of years.
There was really 4 premier teams in the competition this year. Townsville on the outside looking in, but the coach of the year is Ryan Petrick. A tough road for Perth. They obviously played the entire year on the road last year, as most of the teams did in the hub. But a delayed start to the season, had to base themselves in Ballarat. They had the border promise that didn't quite eventuate, and so that kicked that can down the road. They eventually got some home games in. And we're going to talk a lot more about Ryan Petrick in the games and quarters to come, with obviously his team up in Game 1 of the Grand Final by 28 points. Let's see what the Melbourne Boomers can do. They've got a really significant deficit in the second half. It's just around the corner.
We're thinking of grabbing a bite tonight. Any new places close by?
Well, actually... Oh, and there's also...
Oh.
I think 20's enough.
Yeah, that should do us.
Megan Huswaite with the assistant coach, former Olympian Nat Burton courtside.
Well, Nat, a perfect start, a dream first half when you're playing Game 1 of a Grand Final series on an away court.
Absolutely. It was a great start. we just came out firing, and the thing now is that we've got to keep it going. You know, it's easier to just kind of pull back, but we need to keep doing the same things we were just doing in order to win this game.
What else was part of the messaging at halftime?
It was just do the same stuff. Figured out a few things that were working in offense, clean up a few O-balls that Melbourne got, and we just got to keep up the energy.
Finally, we've seen Melbourne come back from big deficits at halftime this season, so is that something you're very much aware of?
For sure. We mentioned it, and that's it. Focus back on us, focus on the things we're doing right, keep that energy up, and then hopefully we will come away with the win.
Thanks so much for your time. We'll let you get back to the bench.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks, Nat.
Great insight from Nat Burton, thanks to Megan Huswaite. 28 points the margin. Second half action underway. How do you sell it if you're Coach Malloy at halftime, Laurie?
Well, again, as I mentioned, although Scherf scores here, that Melbourne really believe in their process. So they would have talked about that. They would have talked, you know, that, to be honest, that some of the shots they've taken have been actually quite good. They just haven't dropped. I feel like a lot of them were sort of a bit short. So, you know, it's all about defense. So, you know, as Jenny, you said, 34 points, that's reasonable for your half, but 60, you just can't let them get away with that.
They get the first bucket of the second half. Nice to hear from Nat Burton. A shout out to Brad Robbins as well, the man they used to call the Angry Ant, championship winner with the Perth Wildcats, of course, assistant with the Lynx, who's in the COVID protocols at the moment, but hopefully we'll see him a little later in the series. I'm sure he'll be watching back in Perth. Here's Allen. But a mid-range J just left it a little short.
Melbourne looked stagnant there on their offense. They made one pass, stopped. Perth are able to make the adjustments, whereas you see here, Perth is moving that ball. Melbourne are just in scatter and rotation.
Maybury can't start the second half like she started the first. The first three looks all made threes from long range.
I couldn't agree with you more, Laurie, in terms of their offensive potency and structure. They've got lacking ball movement. They're lacking a little bit of tenacity with their screenings, the way they cut. They're not cutting with any purpose at the moment. Ezzy's obviously a big focus for them and has been in the first half as well, and hopefully that will continue, but we need someone else to stand up as well. Can Kayla George do it? Is Tess Madgen? We know how great she has been in the last couple of weeks, averaging just on 20 points.
Answering bucket for Jackie Young. Perth in business to start the second half.
The other thing is that Melbourne have only gone to the line 4 times in that first half, so they need to put a bit more pressure on the rim and do it aggressively. Whoop. Unless you're shooting the three-point shot like that.
Tiff Mitchell with the mate, just Melbourne's second made three. And see the numbers down below. They shot the lights out the Lynx in that first half. Maybury off the dribble, just toying with them. Kisses it off the glass, can't get it to go. And the chance downhill for the Boomers. Allen takes it to the rack, knocked away. A little deft touch from Whitcomb forces the turnover. Young has 19 to lead all scorers. This is Garvin, deep 2. Misfires.
You know what? I think it's this end of the court.
Yes.
Perth have come out. They've only hit one shot to start this quarter, and they've hit a few barriers to start. But I think it's down the other end. We saw, you know, Maybury hit that 3 at the start of the first, and now we've seen Mitchell do the same thing, making Laurie eat her words.
Yes, thank you.
About their three-point shooting. But again, it needs to come back to their defensive prowess.
Mitchell tries to put it in reverse. 7-2 run to start to support that Fury, and the scoring end being the left of screen. Young with 19 in the game. Scherf out to Garvin, clean look.
And now I eat my words, Laurie.
Yes.
I was trying to find something. Guys.
We talk about the challenge, obviously the team playing behind, but also there's surely a bit of a psychological challenge as well. You'd rather be the team playing in front, but grand final, game 1, up large at half-time as George drops in a 3. Oh, that's a loose inbounds. They've turned it over, so Melbourne are going to get it back after the made 3. They've wiped off 4 points of that half-time deficit. It's back to a 24-point game.
And that's just a much-needed stop. You can see here Kayla and Tess doing what they do well, pick and roll, and Kayla loving that pop action and giving Ezzy the space and the key way to move. But just a needed stop. Can they do another one off this score here, and then another one to get them 3 stops in a row just to close that deficit just a little bit more?
Imagine not quite on the corner 3. Perth in the red. Shot from Young a little short. She has 19 in the game, so also 4 assists, 8 of 13 shooting for Jackie Young. Mitchell heaves one up. Quarter and a half to go. Game 1 of the best of 3 series. Garvin with the handoff. Mabry draws the double team. Garvin catch and shoot. Not quite. Scherf throws it away on the O-board.
Well, considering we're, getting close to halfway through this quarter and Perth have only scored 5 points, that's a good thing for Melbourne.
Jackie Young takes a seat. There's her numbers, 57% from the field. As Madgen, as we touched on earlier, first grand final series. Sure, she would have played it over a few times, but not with this kind of scoreline halfway through the third. Again, they get another stop defensively. They've balled out so far, the Lynx. The #1 offensive team in the league. Sharp to Scherf. Garvin up top. And George on the rebound. Magbagor for a third make of the quarter. That's good.
That's a good read coming off of that on ball, and with Scherf and drops, that pop is always going to be open.
6 in the quarter for Ezzy, 14 for the game. Whitcomb creates her own shot, misses in the corner. Early advance. Allen retreats out of the key. Now shoots. Doesn't get the shooter's roll. George on the rebound. Put back. Again, it's short. Garvin reels it in. Still at 22. Garvin bangs down the straight-on triple.
Way too open, Darcy Garvin there. Not a hand anywhere close. And then we see a turnover, an uncharacteristic turnover from Kayla George. That's just not what they need if they're going to try and reel in this margin.
And that's just sloppy D there by Ezzy. I don't know whether if it was meant to be a switch or a miscommunication there and, over-helping. But to leave Darcy Garvin, who's been shooting the ball at over 40% for the season, is just not what Guy Malloy, who we can see on screen there, would be wanting from his team.
Well, she's 4 from 8 this game.
Dirty night so far for the Boomers. Game 3 in Perth on Wednesday. This is Chibatoni. To Garvin, do it again. Okay, back-to-back threes up top for Darcy Garvin. And all of a sudden it's back to 28 the spread as it was at the half. And Garvin is up to 21 points to lead all scorers.
Well, for me, this whole game, I was intrigued by the matchups between the 4 bigs in Garvin and obviously Scherf from Perth, and then George and Ezzy Magbagor from Melbourne. And right now, those 2 from Perth are just dominating over the Melbourne Boomers.
Couldn't agree more, Screeny, and let's hear what Guy has to say in terms of that.
Here, all right. Look to red back off the ball if we can. Yeah, we're ready on pick and roll.
Are they still White, Jackie, and Marina?
No, they're out.
As they come in.
Okay, no, we'll just stay on reds for now. Okay, we'll stay with that. Okay, now, this next play, let's go with a regular one, off the high post, cut through, flex cut, go to Tess's side, see if we can get Tess on a flex cut, come back off the down screen, and then play a two-man game with one of these guys here. Here we go, come on.
Well, he still sounds calm.
He always is. He has that calmness about him. I never see him lose his cool. No doubt on the inside, he's probably just on fire and growing a few more grey hairs right now, because this is not what his team is normally plays like, Laurie. It stunned me, really. I sit here with you in this studio going, oh my goodness, where are the Melbourne Boomers that we've seen of late that are wanting to get that championship for Guy Malloy?
Megan Housewaite courtside.
Ryan Petrick's message was breathe, relax, we're fine, and that's how they're looking at the moment. Lauren Scherf on the bench having a well-deserved break for the Perth Lynx to close out this final term. Final third term.
Here's Madgen for 3. Thanks, Megan. It's a scrap on for the rebound, and Allen gives away the foul. At what point do you get to, if you're Guy Malloy, where you just change the focus a little bit from, look, the game might be lost, but we've got to get out of here with some momentum, because there's another game in Perth on Wednesday night, and not just to look at it in the context of a 28-point deficit, but also in what it means for the series going forward.
Well, I don't think you're even thinking that right now. You know, it's a long ways to go in this game, and you can see how a team can get cold, a team can get hot, momentum can change, you know, scoreboard pressure, that sort of thing. So, you know, they'll still be wanting to do what they do and get their stuff done. But I just want to see more of a sense of urgency with the Boomers. More of that. So defensively and offensively, you know, move with more assertiveness. Dictate what's happening on defense. Don't be reactive to everything.
If you thought up 28 you could get some easy points on Kayla George, that ain't happening. She slots that away. And now they force the stop. Is he right? Ernst to Allen, behind the back, takes it to the rack. Lindsay Allen with a highlight for the home team.
And that's what I think, you know, could bring Melbourne back into this game. Just some high pick and roll with Lindsay Allen and make her let her make decisions. But how are you going to counter that if Safi Whitcomb comes back and nails a 3 straight away?
My goodness gracious me. 12 of 21 from the three-point line. And not all of them have been open, let's be honest. Melbourne Boomers have carried a hand to quite a few of them, but wow. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe their way. Normally in finals, you don't shoot that great, do you, Laurie?
No.
And the fact that Perth are coming out like this is just sensational.
And it's not as if it's just one player either. They've had 3 makes from Whitcomb, 4 from Maybury, 5 from Garvin from long range.
And that's what makes it harder defensively for the Melbourne Boomers, because you're not just shutting down one player.
That's
it's 3, 4, 5 players, which makes the margin or the deficit of 30 points just seem that much harder.
Megan courtside.
Special moment for Sammy Whitcomb hitting that 3. Her little baby Nash is in the crowd. She came home to Australia to play in front of him. We know that they missed the first month of the season, relocated to Ballarat. They could be heading back to Perth with a 1-0 lead.
And there she is, having a breather, Sammy Whitcomb. There's 9 points. They've all come from long range, but then 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. That's a stat line, and yet this is a team that has caught fire collectively. 12 of 21 from long range. Ernst with time running out. Off the iron, Madgen. George the handoff to right. Back to Madgen. 5 left on the red numbers. Ernst up top for 3. Some points back the other way for the Boomers. And there's the differential, just 3 made trips for the Melbourne Boomers on their home floor. Maybury goes to work on George. Side of the rim, over the sideline, and last touch by the Boomers.
I think Kayla George has done a great job tonight when she's had to switch on to, as we see Kaylee Ernst doing what she does well, knocking down the long 3. But on the other side, George has done a great job when she's had to switch on to a guard type, containing them really well and challenging them into really tough shots. So really good shout out to her in terms of that from a player like her.
I agree, because the foot speed of Mabry is much more than George, and she's been able to contain them.
Scherf just holds off the defensive effort from George, kisses it off the glass. Final seconds of the third, Allen for three. It's long, and Sharp pulls down the board, and that'll do us through three. So the Melbourne Boomers win the quarter, but they still trail by 26 as we turn for home. Grand final action, game one of the best of three championship series.
Is there a right moment for your next career step? Can you have a stellar career filled with passion? Yes, but it all starts with you. Get experience, connected and ready with mid-year entry at the University of Canberra.
Game one of the WNBL Grand Final Series, and it has been a red wave so far, with the Lynx by 9 at quarter time, by 28.5, and now by 26 at three-quarter time. Perth 76 on the road, leading the Boomers 50. The Boomers, the best defensive team in the league coming in. They gave up 60 in the first half alone. Aussie Hoops, a national junior participation program introducing kids aged 5 to 10 to the sport of basketball. Aussie Hoops gives more than 100,000 kids each year the basis to progress into basketball competitions. If you want to get involved for your youngsters, AussieHoops.basketball/find a program is the way to do it. Megan Huswaite courtside.
Darcy Garvin, the Perth captain, opened up the three-quarter time break and she told her teammates to put the foot on the throat. She said at some stage, if we do so, Melbourne are going to have to think about the bench, and Wednesday in Perth, and they have. Izzy Wright and Carly Ernst usually come in off the bench. They are starting in this final term for Kayla George and Tiffany Mitchell.
There's a flight involved in that, of course, the longest one of the competition.
I'd love to see Melbourne Boomers, you know, with the deficit they have, to throw something different defensively. You know, one-on-one's not working for them. They're not doing a great job on the pick-and-roll set. You know, I love what Tess is doing there, but maybe throw a press, throw some zone, do something different. You might as well. You've got nothing to lose.
Well, and then you can sort of test the waters for the next game and see if it works. If it doesn't work, you know, can we throw it on earlier?
I think they only counted that early look in the corner from Alex Sharp as a 2, so margin only got as wide as 28. Mabry, as Scherf just holds out the defender in the putback.
That one-handed putback, actually, fending off the smaller guard types there she was, as she put that one down as Carly Ernst finds the bottom of the net. But if Sandy Brodello's watching right now, you know, she'd be pretty happy with what Lauren Scherf has been able to put up against George and Ezzy, who we know have been two staples for the Opals in the last recent years. And Scherf is putting on a little bit of a show here, Laurie, in terms of what she's capable of against, and so is Darcy Garvin, to be honest.
Both of them. I mean, I was really impressed with Darcy in Serbia, and then I thought when she's come back, she's had a bit of a, you know, up and down, but she's showing exactly where she left off. And Scherf, she's been impressive, and I like what she's doing because she's not doing too much. She's staying within her skill set, and she's doing it really well.
A double-double in a grand final for Lauren Scherf, 12 and 10.
And let's not forget the 5 assists that she's got to go with that as well. So she's well on her way potentially to a double-double with the amount of assists that this team is racking up tonight. A triple-double, I should say, not a double-double.
It's interesting. Ryan Petrick earlier in the week was talking about, you know, he said, look, we're not a defensive-focused team. We're an offensive-focused team. Well, if you look at the scoreline right now, you'd have to go, gosh, your defense isn't too bad.
Ezzy trying to work around Scherf, not this time. Four players in double digits points-wise for Perth. 19 for Young, 16 for Maybury, Scherf with 12. And Darcy Garvin leads all scorers with 21. And chucking Sammy Whitcomb, who has 9. Steps back on the floor here for the Lynx. Oh. Back court. Women's World Cup later this year, the 22nd of September through to October 1. The world's top 12 women's national teams battling it out for the World Championship. Tickets are on sale. Tickets.womensworldcup.basketball to secure your tickets today.
And who's not excited about that? This game might not be that exciting, but what is exciting is the World Cup that's coming up. We haven't played in Australian home soil since Oz 94, you know, at a world event for women's basketball, and it's so exciting that we get to host it. Tickets have gone on sale as well, which is exciting, and I can't wait to see who makes the final team.
You mentioned Scherf's name in conversations and dispatches about the Australian team. There's a foul call. They're not happy with that on Lindsay Allen, but Garvin will head to the line. Of course, they are looking to replace a pretty big hole in the pivot spot for the Opals team. What a night Darcy Garvin's had. 5 of 9 from three-point land. Her first foul shot is at make 2.
She's really come of age. I went away with her with the World Uni Games team that was coached by Chris Lucas a few years back, and she was the captain of that team. And we know how good she is as a shooter. And, you know, her defense is getting better. It's something that she's not known for. And if she's wanting to make that next step up to the international game, that's one area that she's going to have to get better at. And she's done a great job tonight.
Ernst misses. Is Maybury. Shakes Madgen off the dribble. Doesn't quite get it to go. Would have been one for the highlights. Garvin, flat 3, leaves that short. How's the work off the dribble from Marina Maybury? Just shook Tess. Few in the league that do that. Ezzy in rhythm. Nope. Still at 27, 6 to play. Here's Whitcomb, catch and shoot. No good, imagine the rebound. Out-rebounded by 11 in the game, the Boomers. As Allen shoots a 3 in transition. Ooh, loose handle. Scrap on for it. McMcGaw recovers it for Melbourne. It's to Mitchell, falling out of bounds, throws it away. Unfortunately, the junk time started early in this one. It was a 28-point spread at halftime, and Guy Malloy has a lot of thinking to do. The trip to Perth on Wednesday, and then the Boomers. A lot of hard work ahead of them, but they'll be hoping to be back here next Saturday. Same time slot, our nationally telecast game at 5 p.m. Eastern time for what would be a deciding game 3, but the Boomers have got to pull off a dramatic turnaround in game 2 to get us that far.
the game might be over, but momentum's not. And if they're going to be any chance to go to Perth, where we know Perth are so tough to play with the Red Army in the background, they need some momentum in this last 5 minutes. Forget the scoreline. They need to pack down and lock in for the next 5, get some momentum to head over to Perth with some kind of confidence.
Here's Coach Petrick.
With these guys, but just in that 3-side action, if we're going to tag it and play it, just be aware as we come out, we chase that one, that girl then goes as well. I don't know that they will, but they might. Offensively, I want to start finding some pistols. And again, the two I want to try and stay in, again, Loz in it. I want pistols dribble or pistol Nash. So either, if we can throw it up there, get into Nash action, and then again, that second screen, slip it out there quickly. If you can't, just dribble off it. Let's play again. Good job, Taylor Burrows.
All business, Laurie, just running their sets, the Lynx.
Well, he's, you know, wanting to try something, again, to have a look at it, to see how Melbourne defend it, so that when they go back and review the tape, they can make adjustments if they need to. So, yeah, very succinct in his timeout and what he wants this last 5 minutes.
It's been 30 years since the last WNBL championship to Perth. That was when they were the Breakers. They've had a couple of name changes since. They became then the Lynx and the West Coast Waves, and then back to the Lynx under the ownership of the late Jack Bendat. And then Jack handing control back to Basketball WA, and the Lynx have made it all the way back to a grand final series and about to go one ahead. Megan Huswaite courtside.
I was in Guy Malloy's timeout. His message to the players was to continue to get some stops. That wasn't the case just then with Mabry making the basket, but he said we need to build some momentum defensively. Penina Davidson into the game here for the Boomers, with Kayla George, Ezzy Magbigor having a break.
.27 the margin. Mabry. That high arcing three. Not on this occasion. George the rebound to Mitchell, to Davidson. Hand on it, getting back defensively. Mabry doing it on both ends. Fix the shot. Four and a half to go in game one, and Lindsay Allen will be called for the foul.
It's going to be really tough for Melbourne to head back to Perth, as you mentioned, Screeny, with, you know, I believe it's sold out already for game 2, which is fantastic for Perth and for the competition. But, yeah, that's going to be tough.
I think they'll find a way. I think this might be a little bit of a shake-up and a wake-up for them. There'll be things that they reflect on, but they know that they're 10 times better than this, both offensively. Like you said, Laurie, they've had some great looks at the rim, and I think that last look that they had pretty much sums up their game. They just haven't been able to find the bottom of the net like Perth have. But it's also defensive. Structure, pick and roll, knowing the scout, who you're defending, defensive transition. I don't think there's one category I can think of that they've actually ticked really well. But they're better than this, and I think they know that, and they'll go back to hopefully what we know they're capable of doing in game 2.
Be a great atmosphere at the Bendat Basketball Centre on Wednesday night. It's a 7 o'clock start local time, so 9 p.m. the tip. For those of you on the east coast of Australia, with daylight savings coming into effect tonight.
That's good you mentioned that. I might have come an hour later.
Extra hour sleep for everyone on the east, or for people in those states on the east coast. Just not everyone in the daylight savings. But an extra hour's sleep that I'm sure the Boomers could do with tonight.
Lauren Scherf has been so consistent in that pick and roll. She's rolled hard every time. She's been a target every time, looked for the ball, whether she's gotten it or not. She's presented, and she's been really rewarded and you know, come up with some great finishes, or as we see here at the foul line.
And I think that's the important word you just said there, Laurie. she's finished. And, you know, that's probably something that she hasn't done great over the years and is getting better at, and I think this is her best year to date, is her ability to finish. She's such a big, strong body in this competition, one of the biggest in the league, and if she can just find the bottom of the net more often and become more trustworthy in that space, you know, the ceiling is untouchable for that girl.
It's easy to forget too, given she came into the league so young. She's still only 26, so has a lot of basketball ahead of her. Tiff Mitchell not overly happy with the call, but they get a bucket. 3 to play. At 26, it was 28 at halftime, and really she was a wrap from that point on. Young just shakes Davidson, draws the foul. Jackie Young will head to the line.
Tell me a team that doesn't want Jackie Young on their team. I mean, between her, Mabry and Wickham, and, you know, we can't fault the other 2 starters in Scherf and Garvin tonight. They've been sensational, but any team would want this young woman on their team. She has been phenomenal. I have loved the way she's played, especially to the latter stages of this season. She gives so much, not only just offensively, but her ability to push, her ability to find her teammates. And I just find her calm, Laurie.
Yeah.
She doesn't get flustered at all at any stage.
She's got a real game face, doesn't she? So she just goes through the game, and you know, if she gets what she thinks is a bad call, it doesn't change. If she makes a great shot, it doesn't change. She's just really focused, and she's got so many weapons. She can score in so many different ways. And she, to me, is the real barometer for Perth. I mean, you know, you've got Mabry, and we know we've got Whitcomb, but to me,
she steers the ship.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing I like about her, you know, and you know, she's got that pull-up jump shot, but she actually likes to post up smaller opponents, and she's very clever at that and how she utilizes her body.
This is Lily Scanlon, who got some minutes in the first half. Went to college, the Zags. Gonzaga, really prestigious blue blood school. Here's Tiffany Mitchell, back-to-back makes on the offensive end. I know you've been watching a lot of the NCAA. Jenny Screen?
I have, as I've been breastfeeding for most of my last 14 days, but yeah, a lot of subliminal learning for my young daughter has been happening with the NCAA, men's and women's, and then the NBA and everything else, the WNBL, the NBL. It's been a great experience, and I've really loved watching all the great basketball that's been on TV.
New game high, 29 points the margin. Mitchell trying to take it to the rack. It's her own rebound. 2 to play. Mitchell to wipe 3 off them. Downside. Filling her stat line in this final term. She's up to 17. Tiffany Mitchell. And the results today, if you missed it, South Carolina and UConn to contest the women's title. South Carolina a win over Louisville, and UConn beat Stanford, and then tomorrow the men have the Final Four in New Orleans. Talk about blue blood schools. Got Kansas and Villanova, and then later in the morning, Australian time, Duke and North Carolina. As Rachel Brewster comes onto the floor for some minutes, and some applause too for Jackie Young, who sits down with 21 points in the final 2 minutes.
Not really sure anybody would have predicted this, Corbin and Jenny. I mean, I think it was always hard to pick a winner, but I think we all thought it was going to be a really close, highly contested game.
I think one of us picked Perth, didn't we?
No. Well, maybe you, Corbin.
He's right.
Damn it.
Misses from the elbow. Brewster's got some points in the grand final series.
And that actually might be her first points for the season, to be honest. I don't know if she's found the bottom of the net yet or had the opportunity to, so nice to see her get some points to her name.
This is Burrows off the glass. No good. Scanlon comes up with it. And both teams giving their bench some burn here, and Scanlon takes it all the way to the rack.
At least that looks better when they're in the 70s.
Taylor Burrows, the 20-year-old. At the number 20, Eisenbarger up top. This is Alex Sharp. Ooh, there's a whistle. Davidson will be called for the foul.
If anything, I'm loving the way this second five for the Melbourne Boomers is just playing with, I mean, there's no pressure really when the scoreline is what it is, but, you know, they're playing with a little bit of tenacity about their defense anyway, a bit of pace on the offensive end, and that's exciting to see. What I would love to see in game two is Kayla George getting more than 3 shots. For the caliber of player she is and the experience that she has, you know, she has to see the ball more. I know Ezzy is a focus on the inside, but I'd love to see, you know, George go inside occasionally, especially if Ezzy's on the bench and post up. We know she has that capability. She's playing a lot more on the 3-point line this year, but 3 shots just isn't going to cut it if there's any chance in game 2 in Perth.
Well, you know, one of the things I wrote down in my notes is Melbourne might be looking to attack Scherf because they are not as deep in the big department as Melbourne are. And, you know, you get Scherf in some early foul trouble or Garvin, and then they have to go much smaller, and then you do have a real advantage, but that never eventuated.
No, a lot of their players come out of that pick and roll, pick and pop kind of action. There hasn't been that, okay, I'm going to throw into the post, we're going to work off it, maybe get some weak side action happening and some skip passes, and that just hasn't come to fruition at all.
Alex Sharp with 9 points, 5 rebounds. Burrows under pressure from Davidson. And the 2-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. Game 2, Wednesday night out west, already a sellout. And Perth are just going to dribble it out here. What a phenomenal display. They shot the lights out in the first half and have blown the Melbourne Boomers out of their own gym. The Lynx are 40 minutes away from delivering Perth their first WNBL championship in 30 years. They win wide in game 1. The Lynx 97, the Boomers 71. And it's all on Melbourne from here. They've got to go to Perth on Wednesday night and come away with a W to try and force a deciding game 3 next Saturday.
Well, sometimes when your back's against the wall, you've got nothing to lose, and that's the Melbourne Boomers right now. Credit to the Perth Lynx. They were absolutely sensational in their performance tonight. 97 points, but they did something that they don't really know, or they're not known for in this league, is they played pretty solid defense. I mean, Melbourne had some great looks and they didn't find the bottom of the net, but I thought the Boomers' structure, their rotations, their ability to guard the paint and own the paint and win the boards paid dividends in the long run.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the Lynx were, you know, they whilst we talked about Melbourne taking some good shot, they also put that pressure on them and made them feel like maybe they were a little bit rushed or, you know, didn't have a good shot, but credit to the Lynx.
Darcy Garvin led all scorers with 25. She's with Megan Huswaite.
Well, that was a captain's game if we've ever seen one. Darcy Garvin, congratulations. It's been a hell of a week. You return home with a 1-0 lead in the grand final series.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a bit of a crazy week, but I'm super proud of the girls and their ability to just come out today and execute the game plan. I think we know we can score, and we've kind of proven that all season, but it's our defense, and I think that ability to lock in and trust in Ryan's game plan and follow the scout is really what got us over the line tonight.
Been played down a bit about being a defensive team, but boy, Laurie said during the call you showed you both.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was something we've always known that we can do is score. And like Ryan always puts together a great scout. He always has us prepared, and I think a lot of the time it's on us whether we execute it or not. And the girls locked in, and from the get-go we were great tonight.
How would you describe getting the win here away in game 1 and getting to return home now to your home court? I believe it's a sellout for game 2. You get the chance to win a championship in front of your home crowd.
Yeah, I guess it's goosebump sort of stuff, the fact that potentially we could wrap this all up on Wednesday, but you know, I'm sure that that's going to definitely motivate them to come out just as hard, if not even harder, on Wednesday night. So we need to make sure we're doing all the right things now, get home. I think we've got 2 training sessions, and then we're back on it Wednesday night, and hopefully, yeah, we can finish it off.
Huge win today. Congratulations, Darcy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Darcy Garvin finishing with 25 points. Here are the major numbers, Jenny Screen. It was really the 3-point numbers at half-time but really the Lynx dominated most categories.
Oh, they were phenomenal from deep tonight. Landed plenty and they got plenty, fed plenty tonight. The assists, obviously, when you're draining it as much as you are, you're going to have plenty of those. But I thought their ball movement was absolutely sensational, which gave them those opportunities. And then for me, a key to the game to winning was the rebound count.
So 26 points in the finish, 98-71. The result going the way of the Perth Lynx. Back down courtside, Jackie Young. She had 21. She's with Megan.
Jackie Young, well, isn't it amazing to have imports back in the league when they are the calibre of this woman? Jackie, how does it feel to get the first game in this grand final series?
Yeah, it feels good. This is what we worked for all season, and so to finally just make it here is good. But we just made emphasis on really just coming in and getting off to a good start in this game one. It's always hard playing on the road, and so we knew we had to just come out strong in the first 5 minutes.
How big was getting a strong start, being away in the first game and being able to go home with a 1-0 lead?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. In the past, we came out with slow starts, and so we knew that playing them, that they're front runners, and so we knew we just had to come out, get off to a good start, and then whenever we got that good start, to just maintain the lead, and we were able to do that. And I think it's just credit to our defense. We really were locked in today, knew the defensive plan, and we were able to get going in transition. And that's what we want to do. So as long as we're getting defensive stops, we can run.
What is it like playing with this team? You've been through so much. I'm sure when you signed to come to Australia, you didn't think you'd be starting the season a month late or living in Ballarat for 44 days. But tell me about how this team's come together.
Yeah, we used Ballarat to really just build a lot of chemistry as a team. We were there for a while, and all we did was just spend time in the gym and just hang out as a team. And so we were able to just really come together. And I mean, there's been a lot of ups and downs throughout this season, but I think we just tried to stay focused. I know being away from Perth and being away from their families for a long period of time was hard on them, and so it's just nice being back, playing in front of a crowd, and just looking to finish it off in Perth on Wednesday.
You won a gold medal with the 3-on-3 team at the Tokyo Olympics. You were #1 draft pick in the WNBA. You've been part of WNBA Finals Series with the Aces. What would it mean to be a WNBL championship player with the Perth Lynx?
Yeah, definitely an honor. I chose to come to this team because I knew we had a chance to win the title, and so we're finally here. We have one more game to go. We're going to try to finish it in Perth, and so we've worked for this all season, and now's the time. We got off to a good start tonight, and just look forward to finishing it on Wednesday.
You're a joy to watch, Jackie Young. Thank you for your time. Congrats. We'll let you get back in the room and back to Perth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Jackie Young and also to Megan Husway. Both of you commented on her demeanour on the floor, and gee, she backed that up in the way that she interviews as well. Very calm, relaxed character. We missed the imports, Laurie Chiswick, last year in the league, and boy, it's good to have players of her quality back in the WNBL.
Well, we've had so many good imports this season, and none better than the two from Perth in Maybury and Jackie Young. But I liked how both the interviews with Garvin and with Young, they both mentioned defense. They talked about, they know they can score in that, but they were really locked in and focused. Ryan Petrick put together a good game plan defensively. They stuck to their scouts. So, that's certainly from a coach's perspective, that's really great to see. And they just played as a team, When you look at the assist column, 23, Jenny Screen. Can't get much better than that.
Big time double-double for Lauren Scherf, 14 and 12 with 5 assists to go along with it. She's with Megan Husway.
Well, Lauren Scherf is a journeywoman in the WNBL. She's been part of championships and grand finals. She's had a breakout season of sorts at the Perth Lynx. How are you feeling right now, Loz?
Right now, I can't really explain it. The girls put on quite a performance tonight, and I mean, we knew coming into this game that it was going to be a tough one. We knew what Melbourne can do, and I mean, we're still going to try and stay level-headed because we've still got one more game to go.
How big was your matchups inside, given you're coming up against two opals in Ezzy and Kayla? You produced a double-double and were on track for a triple-double today. How big was that coming into the game?
I just knew that, that they do evolve around their bigs, and I know that the talent that Ezzy and Kayla bring to the floor, I knew it was going to be a really tough challenge. And I mean, I'm always up for a challenge, but to play against Ezzy and Kayla, it's quite an honour because of what they've done in their past accolades, and so to come in and play them, was really good today.
What does it mean to go home now with a 1-0 lead and have the chance of wrapping it up on a home court after everything this team's been through this season?
I mean, it would mean the world to go home and, win it in front of, the Perth fans. But, we've got to stay level-headed and know that they're going to come out extra hard and, they're going to bring it. So, we just got to come in, do what we need to do and, just try and, do what we can. Yeah.
Spot on. Well, you have bought it this season, Lauren Sheff. You bought it today. Congratulations on your season and your game today. We'll let you get into the rooms. Well done, Lauren.
Thank you so much.
Well, Ryan Petrick is the coach of the Perth Lynx, who return home with a 1-0 lead in the grand final series. Ryan, how are you feeling?
Good, obviously, but I mean, it's halfway. We're halfway done. So you've got to finish them off, and that's the hard bit. Like, they finished first for a reason. It's literally half time, if that, and they get game 3 here. So we've got to find a way now to get it done in 2.
Listening to you during the game, you talk about taking it quarter by quarter, 5-minute, 10-minute blocks. How crucial is that in a series when it is a marathon, not a sprint?
Well, especially like today, like when you jumped out of the blocks, generally like a team will just put it in cruise mode, and then Melbourne will run it back down our throat, and all of a sudden. So like, the argument, even at half time, is just win the quarter, win the third quarter. The rest doesn't matter. They'll make a couple of shots at some point. Like, they're a good team, obviously. But when you're up 25, 30, whatever it was in the first half, if you can just win the third quarter, the game's pretty much over. I think we lost it by 2 in the end. So that was the argument all game.
How big was a huge start? It's been a chaotic week. You didn't play last week. You were in Canberra, flew home. You've practiced. You've come to Melbourne. They're on their home floor. All those factors. Why was it so important to have a huge start?
Because we haven't seen what our team can do at its best yet. That was our conversation with our girls pre-game. Like, the first half of the year, Jackie was coming out of her issues, injury-wise, and then Marina got hurt. And then as Marina was getting healthy, we played 7 games in 15 days or whatever it was. So we've never seen our team with a week's rest and healthy. And that was the conversation pre-game. Like, we've got no more excuses. We've got the same schedule as Melbourne, and we're finally healthy. They've got their best starting 5. We've got our best starting 5. Like, let's play. And then to go and do that was pretty special.
So did we see Perth's best today?
The first half, I'm not sure the offence can go much better than that, but the defence is a bigger argument at half-time. Like, the offence is good, but I mean, we've got players that can just get you a bucket, which is really important in a finals game. But I thought our defence in the first half was exquisite.
Exquisite, I love that. I reckon
that's a big one. That's probably get me fined after the game by the girls, but I thought it was good.
You head home to Perth with a 1-0 lead. You get the chance to play in front of your home fans, which is something you've barely got to do this year. But as you said, Melbourne finished first. They've been incredible. We've seen them come back from margins like that within games. How important is it to just new game and be prepared for what they're going to bring to WA?
100%. And like, Melbourne aren't scared of playing in Perth. We're not scared of playing in Melbourne. Like, they're a phenomenal team, phenomenal coach. If we don't serve up the same level of energy, like, they will get us. So again, we've got to match our energy level, what we did in that first half, and then go a level higher, because now they are playing for their season.
Exquisite interview. Thank you, Ryan, for your time.
I thought you'd appreciate it.
I did appreciate it. Congrats on the win today. We'll see you in Perth.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks to Ryan Petrick and also to Megan Huswaite, a 26-point
Hi.
Hi.
We were thinking of having a cruisy day.
Maybe grab a pastry and a coffee.
See some street art.
Maybe go to a museum.
Grab a gelato.
And have afternoon tea.
Any suggestions?
Is there a right moment for your next career step? Can you have a stellar career filled with passion, Yes, but it all starts with you. Get experience, connected and ready with mid-year entry at the University of Canberra.
With doubt and dismay you are smitten. You think there's no chance for you, none. Why the best books haven't been written. The best race hasn't been run. The best tune hasn't been played yet. Cheer up, for the world is young. But the best jobs haven't been started. The best work hasn't been done.
Winning medals at World Championship basketball events is tough business.
The intensity and the aggression that these women play with.
We were relentless. We wore teams down over 40 minutes.
But the big thing, I think, was knowing that somebody always had your back.
There was no excuses. We were all there for each other, and win or lose, we did it together.
It hurts when you can't deliver for the people that you want to win with.
When you're willing to put the name on the back away and play for the name on the front, winning finds you.
It's a childhood dream. It gives me goosebumps even talking about it. We want to play for her, we want to win for her as well as each other.
Story of the Opals, a new documentary which is just around the corner, and you may have seen a familiar face in that little excerpt in Jenny's screen. Tell me about the story of the Opals. What's this all about?
Well, with the screen when it said relentless persistence, the amount of times I heard that over my 10 years with the Opals, I could, win the lotto with that. But it was nice to watch. That's my first little prelude to that. I haven't seen it in full yet. It makes me quite emotional. It could be the hormones with, me going through pregnancy. I was pregnant then, I'm not anymore, but it's exciting. It's going to be really challenging for the girls for the World Cup, but just seeing that gives me goosebumps. It makes me teary because you know what it's like, you know how important it is and how special it is to put on the green and gold, and everyone that got interviewed in that process knows that. And we also look forward to the future and what these girls are going to do on home soil in Sydney in October.
I imagine there's a lot of intangibles in that, where you talk about being a national player and being an Opal. And anyone you speak to that's represented the country talks about what it's like to be an Opal. And then to actually have to try and put that in words, Jenny, I imagine that would be the most difficult part, where it's a feeling I'm sure that you know and you all experience, but actually to be able to put that on film would have been an interesting exercise, I'm sure. It
was indeed. I mean, you try and pull the words that you can, and sometimes you can't describe it. You only get to be one of 12 girls to actually wear that uniform, and there could be a plethora of girls that get that opportunity or should have that opportunity. But for me, it's a privilege and it's an honour, and it always has been, whether I'm playing in the middle of nowhere in China or whether I'm at the World Cup standing next to some of the greats like Penny Taylor and Lauren Jackson and being standing on their shoulders and what they have done for our sport. It's humbling, and I hope that anyone that wears the uniform for the Opals recognises that as well.
And I think so, if I can just add that it's so important, and all the Opals of the past have always talked about leaving a legacy, and I think to get a documentary, to put it, there for people to see and what it means is really important for the now players and the future players.
Can you just give us a little sneak peek? If I said to you, what does it mean to be an Opal, what would you say?
What it means to me is it's a tribute to those that have come before me. It's the fabric that Laurie talks about, but it's also an honour and a privilege and something that I get to pave a way and be a part of the fabric and hopefully leave something behind that for the generations to come, they get to then continue laying that fabric and being a part of that as well. So for me, always, like I said before, privilege and honour whenever wearing the green and gold.
We saw a little insight there as to the current group as well, and it's a fascinating mix at the moment between some senior players and then some really young players, and you can get a bit of a glimpse into the future with Jade Melbourne and Shyla Heel and these players in the competition that you can see where they're going as well, the Opals, what that team's going to look like for the next decade.
Well, Laurie and I could sit here and we could all pick 12 players and they'd probably be all different. Sandy Brondello has such a task at hand in picking that team, doesn't she, Laurie, in terms of who's it going to be? Is she going to go with a young team? Is she going to back her veterans in and the experience? When do you blood the new girls? Jade Melbourne, I thought, has been sensational in the latter part of this season. Christy Wallace is another one. Lauren Scherf, Garben. I don't know, Laurie, what do you think?
Well, again, I think it's really important that people understand, too, that we see them playing in the WNBL. And that sometimes doesn't necessarily equate to international basketball. So that's up to the selectors too, how they form the team. So as you mentioned, Sandy, Cheryl, the coaches really have it's a tough job, and they've got to put all the pieces together. So yes, we could all, and everybody watching, you put down who you think it is, and there's lots of debate, but ultimately, hopefully they get to see them in some tournaments, to see them play international matches and then put that puzzle together.
Home World Cup around the corner as well, so an extra lure. I mean, you achieved so much, Jenny, on the world stage and world championship victories and medals at the Olympics, but you never got to play in a home world championship. So I imagine for the current group in particular that that's a huge carrot for them at the end of the year. Oh,
absolutely. Any person would love to be able to play on home soil. We did it in Sydney at the Olympics, got silver, and then Oz 94 was the last time we got to host any form of competition. So the fact and working in the back end of what's going on now is pretty exciting as well. It's going to be a spectacle. I encourage everyone to get tickets and get them early, not only just to watch Australia, but there is some phenomenal talent around the world in women's basketball that you can have the privilege of watching live in Sydney, and I will definitely be there watching for sure.
Looking forward to the World Cup, Laurie?
Oh yeah, yep. I mean, you sort of, the WNBL's been our focus, and now you think that's finished, so that's the next one. It'll be interesting, the camps and the selections and whittling it down, and then finally they'll be here. They'll be upon us in no time at all.
Absolutely, starting in September. We do have at least one more game in the WNBL season ahead of us. That is on Wednesday night over in Perth. So the Lynx on their home floor, they win game one by 27. They still need to close out the series. You can see the start times there. It's a 7 p.m. start in WA. It's going to be a 9 p.m. start Australian Eastern Standard Time, so with daylight saving changing tonight. So just make sure you jot that one down for Wednesday night. This is going to be a lot for the Boomers to overcome, but we've seen it often in the past, particularly in final series and in playoff basketball, that we can have wild swings in momentum between games 1 and 2. Well,
I have no doubt, Corbin and Jenny, that the Melbourne team are going to go away and go, wow, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't us. We need to make these changes. And they'll, I think we'll see a different team come out on the floor on Wednesday in Perth. But having said that, they're going to look at the lineup of Perth and go, 4 of those starters, not only in the double figures in points, but significant double figures. So how are we going to defend that? How are we going to make some little changes with that? So I think they'll be ready to go, and I hope it's a much closer game.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going back to doing the little things and doing them well. Rebounding, boxing out, not giving a team like Perth seconds, opportunities and possessions, because we know that they're too good offensively. We heard Ryan Petrick talk about it at the end of the game. We are potent offensively, and we can score from 1 through to 5 in terms of their starting lineup, and they did that tonight, especially through their captain, Darcy Garben. But for me, it's the little things. Get the ball more in Georgia's hands. She only had 3 touches tonight. Ezzy will find the net a little bit more. Imagine she was really quiet. We know she's been pretty good in the last couple of weeks. They've just got to get that grit and that tenacity back in their game that we've seen throughout this season.
And they're going to have to hope that Perth don't play exquisite defence.
We've just seen a few of the players here that put up big numbers tonight. So Scherf for the double-double, 14 and 12. They got 25 out of Garben, 20 out of Mabry, 21 out of Young, and then 9 for Whitcomb, including her 6 rebounds and 6 assists. So when you're getting that out of your starting unit, there's some big, heavy numbers.
Yeah, and the question is, who do you stop?
Yeah.
You think you only have to worry about 1 or 2 players in a game, but when 5, 6, 7 girls are dominating a game, that makes it really hard. And obviously the scoreline shows that for tonight. But Melbourne Boomers will head to Perth, I think, obviously with their backs against the wall, but with a different mindset, rather, heading into game 2.
Here's a few shots of Jackie Young and what she was able to do tonight. Finished with 21 points, also had 4 assists to go along with that. Now, the coaching exercise here, if you're Guy Malloy, Laurie, do you do a hard review on tape and go through moments of the game, or is it the other approach where you say, look, that's not us, let's just pretend that didn't happen and come out and try and rediscover your best basketball in game 2?
Well, Guy Malloy has always been a coach that concentrates more on his team and his actions and processes for offense and defense. You know, he obviously knows what the other team, you know, he'll talk about that staggered screen action and how they can defend that maybe a little bit better. But it'll be all about his team and what they can do and get back to playing the type of basketball that they've prepared all season for, and that we thought the pieces of the puzzle had fallen into place for them.
I think a lot of people predicted a Melbourne victory in game 1 tonight. I know it's a long way out, and I'm not going to hold you.
But you didn't, Corbin, did you? No, you didn't. You picked Perth, so congratulations to you.
I did pick it. But I can imagine Perth will be favourites on their home floor. Are we going 3? Are we going to be here next Saturday for a deciding game?
Well, I want to be here 3.
You tell us, Corbin. You're the expert, aren't you now?
No, definitely not. Definitely. I always defer to you guys. It is a lot to turn around, though, isn't it? What, 27 points, and they're going to have to come out and do something dramatic in game 3 to make game 2 to make sure we get there.
Sorry, a few people have made the comment that whoever wins game 1 is probably going to win the series because it's going to be tough for Melbourne to go back to Perth. Had Melbourne won, well, you know, Perth might have won on their home court, and then we came back to Melbourne. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see till Wednesday.
Jenny, you going to make sure that trophy makes its way to Perth, okay?
No, I might take it home with me. But no, I think we'll take it to Perth and see what Melbourne can do.
Yeah.